The eyes of fear, head of pain, face of evil, and some king. Chapter 6. The Hunt. People would gather their thoughts and ideas, surround themselves with laughter, cheers, and family, kissing and hugging their way to another, seeking affection to kill the dimming mood left by sundown. The elder of the family sat on his rocking chair, receiving a line of greetings, reclining in the moon's gaze, viewing the window, planks above the open door. His tatty house was massive and bare, made of lumber, and was on one of the many grassy high hills each of his family members lived on. His was the tallest. Showing respect to their grandfather, they continued to line their children in order, from youngest to oldest. Grandfather of grandfathers, father of fathers, sagging jowls plopped on his gray knee-length woolen tunic, trying to outgrow his white bearded chin that went to the floorboard, curling itself like a sheep's horn. Eyelids buried beneath his loose skin, lowered into the brows, covering his eyes. He was so bald that the only hair left was behind his head. A single, long, thick strain, not known to Gorn anymore, for he thought he lost all his hair years ago. Gorn pouted, having to sit, till the greeting was finished. Children to adolescent, to those who had family bowed, then sat the table, waiting to feast. Half-sighted Gorn flicked through to find his favorite. Bellowing in the cycle, Gorn thanked those who showed respect, feeling their hands a bit as they came. Leading the walking path, Trey smeared grass with her brown leather boots, flaking off the bugs, enticed by her heat. Smothered, she suffocated with gray wool around the neck. Brown fox fur tightly entrapped the warmth of her body. You could cast a rod into her deep sea eyes. Keeping it unkempt, the flow of her hair was flaming bright red. Something was stalking her. Rustles overheard from a clear distance in the woods. Tall, arching, leafless trees reached over, branching their thin, morbid trunks, pointing to a singular location, Gorn's high house. Spiriting, hoping not to miss the free meal, Trey climbed the rugged trail. A figure veiled in the shadow of the moon, leaning against the house wall, whispering to himself.
Trey has come at last.
As he saw her out of breath.
Running from something?
Flustered, she didn't care to respond to the morbid man. Passing him no attention was given, for if she did, she'd knew conflict would arise. Inside the house, she saw her grandfather Gorn, composed as always, scratching his beard in attempt to seem wise.
Sleepy child, where have you been?
Gorn, pleased to see her, giving a display of yellow teeth. Rushing past the order tray, gives a hug, feeling the weakened state he's in.
Be thankful I got here at all. The woods were tricking me.
Kent came in sulking, a bow behind his long black ponytail, a black bowman's hat pointed front and back, the coat buttoned and brazed with skin of boars, stroked the floorboard, a cape of crow feathers tied off at the neck, clean cut his face, and brazen his movements. Cautious, he edged around the families and went to the corner to sulk. Giving quick squints, he saw the families eat their late supper. The 7 families of Gorn were enjoying their visit, full of talks and tales, goose and ale, and most certainly the hunt for quail. Gorn told Trey to join the feast. She chose to sit between the brothers, third head Ratin and second head Cinch. Ratin was humongous. Eating fast, Ratin pounded the table to swallow the quail whole. Cinch, tallest of his kin, drank ale, wanting badly to become drunk.
Oh, brother, you've become all women.
Trey laughed at the remark. She gave Cinch pats on the back, hard enough for him to puke.
I'm gonna puke.
Trey went full in, breaking down the plate to its entirety. Side of beans, gone. The squash was no more. The quail took some time to finish. She watched her family move around in joyous motions. She had an expression on her face, one of peace of mind. She knew that this moment wouldn't be forever, so she would cherish it. Bang. The door was opened, and outside was a hulking body, short-shelved, wearing a black overcoat, riding to his ankles. Kent rushed to the door and drew his bow. A yellow eye shot to Kent.
Put that away as you value your life.
The families listened for the game to be over. Unsteady, the bow was lowered, and Kent went back to his corner, arms crossed. Gorn made unsettling grumbles, puckering his lips in discomfort.
Shame on you, raising a hand to a head of the family.
A quick smirk given. Yellow eyes came in and scanned the hall, spotting his daughter, Trey. Trey looked away down on the table, hoping she wasn't seen. Walking up to her, he grasped her shoulder and squeezed tightly.
Fighting won't save you. Come along, we'll leave him.
Two arms from both sides leaned against the yellow eye's shoulders.
Who's this coon?
Stabbing a dinner knife into the table.
Doesn't matter. He's taking Trey from us. We can't have that.
The families again listened for the elder. Gorn coughed, and just like that, the brothers stopped their game. Trey's father walked to Gorn and kneeled. Gorn twisted his beard and raised his hand. Trey's father held Gorn's hand and waved it around while he closed his eyes. He then recited a verse from the Apex. He continued and showed great respect to Gorn. The 7 heads of the family were all here and witnessing the 7th's utter devotion to the All-Father. Watching Trey tried to make her escape. Kent saw this and stepped in her way.
What does your father want with you?
Tiptoeing up to Kent's ear, whispering,
He wants me to marry some noble dolt.
Marry you?
He laughed to himself, knowing the situation was no joke.
Who'd marry a vile, dim-witted tyrant? If they want a princess, they should have Tressia.
Why? Am I not strikingly beautiful?
Sorry to interrupt.
Behind Trey was Mill, the youngest head to ever be. He is a bit smaller than half her height and is only a youngster at best, the smallest of the families containing 8 members in his rank. He had blonde hair like his mother's and a fine-looking face like his father's. The garments he wears are a loose fit and baggy for his build, as like everyone else in winter he wore gray for the hunt. Taken over by his cuteness, Trey hugged him tightly. Mill, embarrassed, tried to push her away.
Please stop, I'm suffocating. I was overhearing you two speak about marriage.
That's for her and her father to sort out. We'd best not dip our noses into it.
I didn't think you'd back down so easily.
He has the highest title of us all, the closest to the All-Father, and he could catch my arrows with his hands. I'm better alive than dead.
Right, so what are you going to do?
Run?
Kent looked disappointed in that response. Ray didn't seem to know.
Running away from him won't send the message you're trying to get across. But I guess there's that, or facing it, embracing it, or you could marry someone else.
Who?
Hell if I know. But why are you against it? Isn't the cozy lifestyle you want?
Yeah, but not one so ladylike. I want to be with my family and friends. I want to live by my rules. Not some noble way like bearing children and being some aristocrat.
I thought you'd say that. Run if you want, but avoiding it won't stop him. Even Gorn will give the order to have you married to secure the lands we own, and if possible, even the kingdom.
I heard it too. The person you're marrying is the Prince of Loss from the East. There's only 3 houses left, us, the Vels, and the Boers.
Really?
The Apex was nearing its close, and Trey thought it over. She took Kent's advice and confronted her father at the presence of Gorn. The final words were spoken, and Trey's father lifted himself, turning to Trey.
Done fooling around, then let's go meet your husband-to-be. I sent an envoy to meet him here. Gorn approved it, for I knew you'd be here.
Trey looking to Gorn, feeling betrayed. Gorn lifted his shoulders in a shrug at her look. In no time at all you could hear horses and a carriage arriving uphill, several carriages and a fleet of armed, speared horsed men accompanying them. Inside the carriage, the Prince of Los sat beside his scholar and across his knight. The scholar wore a brown robe and a rope tied around his waist, while having expensive cloth covering. The dark knight at the front of him sneezed on the prince. Realizing what he did,
Sorry, my lord.
a brief scoff.
It's fine.
The knight got out a handkerchief and attempted to rub off the snot from the prince's pants. The prince wore a sapphire-colored silver crown. To the bottom, his pants legs were brown to the waist. A rounded hat had a golden feather sticking out of it to the left side, and a heavy-duty coat embraced him. The hills shacked the carriage and giggled, everyone in it. At the stop to the front of the large house, he went out. A head of the family waited outside to meet him. Harel the sixth head was lofty, but not strong enough for a hunt. Brown, skinned and hairy-armed, he extended his hand and smiled. The prince looked down to the gesture and walked away from the fatty. The fatty was really agitated and tried to grovel up the prince.
Your Majesty, I'm sure you've heard of our little troublemaker. Trey hasn't seen or contacted you yet. The poor girl isn't very ladylike, but my daughter Tresia is young, pretty, and manners.
The prince eyed him suspiciously,
I'll keep that in mind.
staring at the door.
Aren't you going to open it for me?
Of course, anything for my future son.
A welcome push at the door left everyone in view of His Royal Highness and his bodyguards, of knights behind him in their silverish armor, with the crest of Sol. Trey, her father, and All-Father Gorn graced the prince. The prince was fixated at Trey and smiled. The Dark Knight was in tow. The prince extended his hand.
Lady Trey, you will accompany me at this very moment to my castle room in Elfu, where we shall make a child and he shall bear the crests of 2 houses.
No thank you.
Gorn unsurprised, but her father rebuked.
Your Majesty,
Kneeling before him,
my daughter is extremely stubborn and has yet to know the ramifications of her actions against this decision. Please allow me to correct this behavior.
She's your daughter, Wolfie. Until a ring is on her finger, you may for now.
Trey's father picked her ear and dragged her outside. Trey tried to beat her father, but he was far too powerful. She was released outside next to a few guardsmen.
What are you doing? That hurt, damn you.
This is your fate. You have no say in this. Gorn has approved it, and if you don't, you will be ostracized from the family.
Good. I don't want to be a part of this family any longer.
Wolf!
You could hear his displeasure of drama that ensued. Wolf begrudgingly came back inside. Trey walked away downhill, Wolf stepping in inside to find his uncle foaming from the mouth.
Your daughter has made it clear that she doesn't want to pursue the marriage, so I have no choice to offer Tresia in exchange.
Harald biting his knuckle in glee.
It's settled then.
What?
Not sure if he heard right, but creepily walking up to the prince.
Yes, our families will be united as one.
No.
Gorn was silent, as was Wolf. Harald, anticipating this, revealed his daughter, a big-breasted, beautiful woman second to Trey. She wore a purple dress and was stellar all around. The prince gave a reconsidered look. He walked around her as she tensed up and studied her closely, paying extra attention to the breasts.
Yes, she'll do.
Really?
I mean, of course.
Gorn was fine with this and gave a commending nod. The agreement took but a few minutes, and the prince was ready to leave with his new betrothed. He took her by the hand and guided her out to the carriage. Harald followed them, but was stopped by the Dark Knight. He tried to get into the carriage, but the knight stood in his way. Trying to pass him, he squirmed left and right, but couldn't get past.
I'm her father. Would you please let me through?
No can do. I was instructed not to let anyone but the lady and prince inside.
Fumbling over his words, begging.
My lord, your knight won't let me in. Would you be so kind as to tell him to move aside?
Why should I? You're not coming. I have my lady and that's all I need.
Looking to his daughter.
Tresia, say something.
She did not. She only held the prince's hand and fell to his nape as he grabbed her by the waist.
No, take me with you.
Harald pounced in and was dragged out by the dark night.
Get off!
Harald got up and chased the carriage, begging not to leave him behind. Kent catching up to Harald as he breathed heavy.
You could have just taken a horse and rode with them.
That's a wonderful idea.
Harald got a horse from the stable and yelled,
I'm coming, Tressia.
Kent laughed as he saw him ride away. Kent looked in the stable column and saw Trey sitting down pouting. He walked up to her and kicked her boot to get her out from hiding her face.
What do you want?
Nothing, but now that you're excommunicated, I figured I'd pay you my respects.
Mill came outside and saw Trey talking to Kent. Then a large hand tossed him up onto the shoulders of his tall cousin Cinch. Ratin, looking up to his brother carrying Mill.
Can you see the stars from up there, Mill?
Mill looked into the sky and the clouds blocked the view.
I can't see it. I'm not tall enough to reach the clouds.
Okay.
Cinch, half drunk, attempted to walk to Trey, but fell over halfway and came down with Mill in his shoulders. Mill didn't scream, but reacted swiftly and hoped off, like a cat landing on his feet. Ratin clapped and was amazed. Mill bowed, and Cinch gave a slow clap.
Will you guys knock it off?
I'm done with this family.
What? But you're our family, Trey.
Grabbing him by the cheek.
That's not what I meant. I mean, I want to do my own thing.
Like an adventure.
Hand to chin.
Yeah, an adventure. That sounds fun.
Ken face palmed.
Oh, God. That's not good. You can't just leave. Your father will imprison you and force you to live with him.
That's exactly why I'm going. I want nothing to do with this family drama, and he's not touching me no way, no how. I have a few ideas, but I want to go to Goss. I've never been there before. I hear it's beautiful and warm. I've never went past Death's Cross.
Those people have some interesting stuff. They have these things called cars, and they ride them like carriages with no horses.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see that, and the flying machines.
All right, so how are you going to escape?
Right now.
Right now?
Yeah.
Trey ran down the hill and past them all. She ran and ran and ran to the flat ground, passing Ken, Ratin, Snitch, and Mill. The four of them were bewildered. Her father saw this and yelled at them.
What are you doing? Don't let her escape.
What do we do?
Both Snitch and Mill went their separate ways downhill. Ken followed Trey with his horse. Catching up, he was on her trail. Just as he catches up, she glances over her shoulder, and he extends an arm. Trey grabs hold and swings up behind him.
I'm gonna get some shit for this, but I'll take you a day's way from here.
Fuck that. Take me to Death's Cross.
Death's Cross it is then. Hold on tight.
He snaps the reins and they gallop off. Meanwhile, Ratin scratches his head, watching them shrink into the distance.
We ain't just gonna let her leave alone, are we? Course.
Cinch says as he carried supplies on his back.
Come on, let's catch up to them.
The two lumbering brothers take off after Kent and Trey. They both passed Mill. Little Mill trails behind, struggling to keep pace on his short legs. Cinch looks back and laughs.
Hurry it up, Pipsqueak.
I'm going as fast as I can here.
Ratin effortlessly swoops Mill up onto his shoulders.
There you go. Now you can't fall behind.
Together, the trio race to the stables where their horses are tied off. One fiery redhead rebel, a shady bowman, a pint-sized youth, and two blockheads. Off they went towards Death's Crossing nonetheless. So ends Chapter 6.